Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope you all are doing great and you have been through the previous lectures and you have understood them very well. I'm hoping so. Now, for the third lecture, we are going for morphology. What is morphology? Basically, when we talk about morphology, remember one thing, it is one of the branches of linguistics, right? And it deals with word formation. See this slide. Morphology is a branch of linguistics that studies the internal structure of words. The morphology studies the internal structure of words and the rules by which words are formed. So, morphology looks into the internal structure of words and to those rules by which words are formed, by which we make words. It is concerned with the way words are built from morphemes. What are morphemes now? It is again a new word. So morphemes are the smallest unit of meaning in a language, right? If you look at morphemes in detail, remember one thing is cells are building blocks of human life. If we study in biology, right? When it comes to morphemes, same is the case with morphemes, but they are the building blocks of words, right? So morphemes are very much important in words formation. You cannot ignore that. A morpheme is the smallest meaningful unit in a language. What is morpheme? It is a smallest meaningful unit in a language. Morphemes can be words by themselves, means they can give you meaning all alone by themselves, or can combine with other morphemes to form more complex words, or you combine them with the other words to make more complex words. For example, see in the types of morpheme, when it comes to free morphemes, by the word you can understand it, free. Free means that independent morphemes. Independent morphemes means the words all alone can give you a meaning, that is meaningful word. And when we say bound morphemes, it means that the word is bound. The word is meaningless. The word needs someone to be combined with and provide us meaning. Look at the definitions of these two. When it comes to free morphemes, these can stand alone as independent words. Here we have the example book. It's a single and free morpheme, and all alone it can give us the meaning. When we say run, again it's a meaningful morpheme all alone. When we say happy, again it is a meaningful morpheme. Now come to the bound morphemes. These cannot stand alone and must be attached to a free morpheme. So, in bound morpheme, what we do, the word itself is meaningless. We need a free morpheme to be attached to make it meaningful. For example, we have suffixes and prefixes in English, right? English grammar basically. So here we have prefix un, un. If you are writing un, it is meaningless. It has no meaning. No one understands what you are trying to say. But when you attach this un with happy, which is free morpheme, and it makes it unhappy. So unhappy is now a meaningful unit, a meaningful word. So bound morphemes are attached to the free morphemes to make more complex, meaningful words. Then the suffixes, if you look at the suffix ed here in walked, walked, if we write ed all alone, no one understands it. It is meaningless. But here we added this ed to walk, walk, to make it meaningful. So walk itself is a free morpheme. It gives us meaning. But ed itself doesn't provide us any meaning. So I hope the difference between free morpheme and bound morphemes, this is clear to you. Now come to root morphemes, the core part of the word that provides the primary lexical meaning, e.g. friend in friendship. So we add ship to the friend to make it friendship. So root morpheme means friend is a root for ship, right? ship is the second word. Friend is a root word. Now see the affixes. Affixes are prefixes and suffixes. Okay, morphemes that are attached to a root or stem, they are further categorized into prefixes and suffixes. We combinedly we can call it affixes. Both prefixes and prefix or suffix can be called affixes, right? Prefix, affix that appear before the root, e.g., in unhappy. That is prefix is we have discussed it here, right? Then we have suffix again, ness at the end of the word. Kindness, kind itself is a free morpheme. Ness is a bound morpheme, and we combine these two to make it kindness. Now, what are lexical morphemes? Lexical morphemes carry the core meaning in a language. They are content words that contribute to the semantics of a sentence. Semantics of a sentence means meaning of the sentence. These morphemes are usually free morphemes, meaning they can stand alone as independent words, as we have discussed in free morpheme, right? Now see, Kate, house, book. If you noun. In verb we have run, jump, eat. Adjectives are happy, blue, fast. Adverbs are quickly, silently, often. So these are lexical morphemes. Okay, then we have functional morphemes. Okay, after lexical morphemes we have functional one. So what are functional morphemes? Remember one thing, these are more for, you can say, grammatical information. Functional morphemes are those that serve as a grammatical purpose rather than carrying a great meaning by themselves. They function to express relationship between lexical morphemes or to aid grammatical information. So all the functional morphemes, they are about especially pronoun, prepositions, conjunctions, article, and are those helping verbs. If you see the examples, in pronoun we have he, they, it, she, us, we. In preposition, in, on, at, out, outside, here, there. In conjunctions we have and, but, or, if. So there are many, right? Articles are the, and an. And when it comes to auxiliary verbs, we have is, have, will, was, were. So the functional morphemes, they are more grammatical, are for grammatical information. When it comes to the types of morphology, first we have inflectional morphology. What is now inflectional morphology? Inflectional morphology involves the modification of words to express different grammatical categories such as tense, case, voice, aspect, person, number, gender, and mood. So inflectional morphology, basically it again deal with grammatical categories. If you see the examples, see the tense. For example, we have the word, we have verb, walk, W-A-L-K, walk. If we add ed to it, it is then from root word to, or you can say from present to past. The word can be shifted from present to past. So it is now from walk shifted to walked. So it means that the tense is changed. Then to make plural, for example, we have a word cat, C-A-T, cat. When we put S, it becomes plural. So in plural form, we add S-R-E-S to nouns. When it comes to, possessions, are adding S. For example, we have the word here is John, G-O-H-N. It is a noun, name of a person. But if we say John's book, with apostrophe S, here we are showing the possession of a noun, that this book belongs to this person. So inflectional morphology is more grammatical. Remember that. When it comes to the characteristics of inflectional morphology, remember one thing, it does not change the core meaning of the word. Whatever is the meaning of the word is the root meaning still remains the same. It does not change the root meaning of the word. Secondly, it does not change the word's part of speech. So both will remain the same. Then we have the second one is derivational morphology. Now, what is derivational morphology? It involves the creation of new words by adding a derivational morphemes to a base or the root. This often changes the meaning or part of speech in the original word. As we said that the inflectional morphology does not change the meaning, but the derivational morphology can change the meaning. If you see the example, for example, we have beauty. If we add ful, full, it becomes beautiful. Now beauty, its meaning is different, and beautiful can provide the meaning of the beautiful is changed from beauty, right? When it comes to noun, we have, teach word here. If we add er to this word, it becomes teacher. So teaching or teach is a different word, and teacher is totally different from it. If you see this adjective, we have quick, 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 in a hurry, for example. So when you are adding ly to make it adverb quickly, which provides different meaning. So in derivational morphology, we deals with such words, or whenever we add more morphemes to those words, the meaning is changed. The meaning does not remain the same. So in inflectional morphology, meanings remain the same, and in derivational morphology, whenever we add more morphemes, the meaning is also changed. Now see the characteristics. Often changes the word's meaning and can change the word's part of speech. Now when it comes to word formation process, compounding. Now what is the process of word formation, right? So to form words, first there is compounding. Compounding means compound words are combining two free morphemes to make a new word. For example, we have word black, it is a color, right? Then we have a word board, board, board. So whenever we combine these two words, we will have a new word, and that new word is blackboard. We have note and we have book. If we combine these two words, we have a new word which is notebook. For example, we have key, and then we have, I would say, key board, board. So when we combine these two, we have a new word which is keyboard. So what is compounding? Compounding means combining two free morphemes to make a new word. Then we have reduplication. Now what is reduplication? So if you look at the word reduplication, it is repeating a whole or part of the word to form a new meaning. For example, bye and bye-bye, zigzag. So it is reduplication. Then we have blending. Blending means merging parts of two words to create a new word. For example, there is a time to have food which is known as breakfast at the morning. And whenever we are having our food, our meal, that is the lunch time after breakfast. But if in between we are eating something, that can be called brunch. So such type of words formation is known as blending. Then we have clipping. Clipping means shortening a longer word to form a new word. In clipping, what we do, we make the words short. So, sorry for the pause. Okay. So we short or we make those long words short to form a new word. If you look at the word telephone, so we most of the time say phone. And we have, you know, laboratory, what we say, lab. So this is known as clipping whenever you make the words short from the longer words. Then when it comes to, the applications of morphology, whenever you are learning a language, understanding words formation helps in vocabulary acquisition and understanding grammar rules. So this is important when you are learning a language, so it helps you in making vocabulary, in understanding vocabulary, acquisition of that very language, and understanding of those grammatical rules. Then it helps you in natural language processing. For example, morphological analysis is essential for tasks like spell checking, parsing, and machine translation. When it comes to linguistics research, morphology helps linguists understand language evolution and structure and relationships between the languages. When it comes to lexicography, morphology is crucial in dictionary making, helping to define and categorize words accurately. So, students, whenever it comes to morphology, remember one thing, morphology always deals with word formation. It always deals with the structure of the word. And in morphology, we have free morphemes and we have bound for morphemes. Free morphemes are those morphemes which which can independently provide you meaning, and bound morphemes are those words which cannot stand by themselves. They need someone to be fulfilled or to be meaningful. And then the root, we use prefixes and suffixes to make, meaningful morphemes or meaningful words. When it comes to lexical morphemes are, meaningful, you can say, words in the sentence. Without them, the sentence might can't provide you the exact meaning. When it comes to functional morpheme, this is more grammatical, or you can say the grammatical information in the sentence, which deals with pronoun, preposition, conjunctions, article, auxiliary verbs, or helping verbs. When it comes to types of morphology, we have inflectional morphology and we have derivational morphology, right? In inflectional morphology, whenever we add more morphemes to the root word, it does not change the meaning. But when in derivational morphology, whenever we add words or bound morphemes to the free morphemes, the meaning is changed. The part of speech is changed. And then there is a process of word formation which is known as compounding, reduplication, blending, and clipping, as I have already discussed it with you. So thank you so much, students, for your attention, and I hope the topic will be clear to you whenever you listen to it, whenever you go through it. If still you have any questions, if you feel any confusion in any point, you can easily ask me. Thank you so much for your time. Allah Hafiz.